You're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. So it begins again. Welcome back to CreepGeeks Podcast. This is Season 9, Episode 336.
American Pope, TRex Handbag, Underground Cities, Creepy Clowns, Jamais Vu, and Chinese Space Bacteria?
Yes. So anyway, here it goes again. If you are tuning into the CreepGeeks Podcast or CreepGeeks Podcast, either one works. I'm Greg.
I'm Omi.
We have a lot of stuff we'd like to talk about. Feels like we've been away for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You know, got that important life stuff happening.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, our particular podcast is a podcast where we talk about paranormal news, strange news, share our strange experiences from our underground bunker in the mountains of western North Carolina.
Yes.
Sometimes we broadcast that to you, the listener, the active participant of the podcast, because we do have a phone number, and a bunch of other social media outlets where you can interact with the podcast.
Well, that phone number is going to be 575-208-4025.
That's right. So if you'd like to support the podcast, you can certainly do that. You could, a little 5-star rating, 4-star rating, 3-star rating. We appreciate it wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can listen to us everywhere because that's what we accept. Only the finest quality, 3 to 5-star reviews.
Okay. You can also follow us on social media. Find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and we have a pretty active Facebook group.
Yes, and if you just want to use YouTube as a way to listen to the podcast, because a lot of people like to do that, our podcast is #listenable.
Oh.
Yep, and you can find it by searching CreepGeeks. And everything we talk about in the podcast is also available on our website, CreepGeeks.com, and you can find the links that we use to make our discussions happen with you, the listener, and you can peruse them at your leisure and determine whatever it is you need to determine. Well, if you feel so inclined. I just kicked our podcasting table with my big man boot. It happens sometimes. So let's do this. Let's kind of do a little bit of a podcast recap of what happened in our last podcast, and we'll kind of go from there, because we do have some things to talk about, sort of related, if you will.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Sure.
Why are you looking at me all weird? Did something crazy happen?
No.
All right. So we did talk about Mountain Dew and the idea that Mountain Dew flavors can predict or have predicted deadly U.S. disasters.
Mm-hmm.
And the colors mean different things. And so we sort of, yucked it up a little bit. Well, it must be important now because Daily Mail, the Daily Mail Online.
Oh, okay.
DailyMail.com has decided to put it on there. Yeah. And so let's see what happens as I disable my ad blocker.
I know.
And just for curiosity's sake, and this is something that you should probably be aware of, should you click on one of these links, and there's a bunch of ads, that's not our fault. I use an ad blocker, and just out of curiosity, so far it has blocked 96 ads on just that one page. So that tells you all you need to know about DailyMail.com. What do you think about that? Is that nuts or
nothing.
what?
Well, I don't have it, and it's just like, oh, great,
Oh, you do have it.
Yeah.
It's at the top. Up in the browser bar, you'll see it. It looks like a stop sign. Mine says a stop sign with 96 next to it.
Okay.
Yeah. And you just open it up or allow it for that one page. This is some of the commitment that we have for you guys. This is what we do. I'm placing myself in jeopardy with 96 ads and Omi as well, all to tell you this silly story about the chilling claim that Mountain Dew flavors predicted 4 deadly U.S. disasters.
Oh, so this guy actually this Daily Mail actually names as many of them as they can. So
that's why we did a follow-up to it, because,
so
that's what we do.
May 2001.
Maverick Bailey.
Yeah. May 2001, just months before 9/11, Code Red Mountain Dew came out.
Yes.
In 2019, Maui Burst came out. Allegedly, it foreshadows the 2023 wildfires in Maui. Okay. And now they're predicting It's the other one that came out. I can't. Star Spangled Splash came out in 2024, right before the collapse of Baltimore's famous Scott Key Bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And, wow. Are they really trying to... They had a Pitch Black that came out in 2023, and they did a re-release, I guess, October 2024. And they're saying somehow that correlated with the power outages of something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now the 2024 CrowdStrike outage is being attributed to Pitch Black as well. So...
You just keep bringing them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
anyway, the cool thing is that there's links that you can basically read up on if you want. So I don't really know what's going to happen with the Mountain Dew thing, but thought we'd put it in there.
Okay.
Pitch Black Mountain Dew. All right. So anyway, that was pretty not exciting. So let's move on to the next thing. All right, so this is something that you talked about when we were talking about dinosaurs or something. I got to be honest, I wasn't quite paying too much attention because I was over here doing the engineering, whatever, on the podcast because we like to use as minimal editing as possible, so we try to make it as best we can out of the gate. It adds authenticity.
Oh.
Yes, and but I thought it was kind of cool, so I put it in here so that you could take a look at it. Lab-grown TRex leather handbag.
Oh.
Created using protein found in fossils. I think I may have put this in there because you may have mentioned it in your conversation. I don't remember exactly, but I'm like, we need to look at this.
No, I think it was along the lines of all the different things they were trying to bring back via DNA and the whole direwolf thing.
Yeah.
But last year, I think I did talk about they were genetically engineering proteins from mushrooms to make mushroom leather.
Yeah.
And then we saw it on a show, like one of the car shows we watch. And it was like they spent all this money on mushroom leather. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, mushroom leather is for suckers. This is T-Rex leather.
Which, is it really T-Rex leather?
Well, according to Oddity Central, if they're using the protein found in the fossils and making it happen, you know, I mean, that's more, I think, dinosaur, you know, okay, so that's more realistic. I don't remember, it was dire wolves, so we were talking about dire wolves, so they add just a little bit to the wolf, and all of a sudden, oh, look, it's a dire wolf. Well, I mean, if you've got a handbag, what are the, and they can basically take a little bit of a protein or whatever and sequence it somehow and produce a high-quality alternative to traditional leather by making T-Rex leather. Why not?
I mean,
it's from the Organoid Company, and lab-grown leather have been able to synthesize a next-generation material that features the durability and repairability of T-Rex skin.
Okay.
Yeah, well, how do they do that? I don't recall ever seeing anybody cruising around with T-Rex wallet or even having T-Rex flesh to, you know, grab a hold of it and stretch it out a little bit and, you know, do the hardness test and just to see. But
they have a little infographic that shows how they do it. So basically they grab the DNA, they find the proteins that were in that DNA, and then optimize them.
With some bovine leather, right, from a cow?
Well, actually it doesn't say. It says phytogenic analysis finds engineered sequences closely related to distant T-Rex relatives. Then it partners those proteins with the ones that they've found in nature that are alive. Then it goes through a sequencing and inserted into a specialized bioleather cell line genome. This proprietary cell line genome used to express T-Rex structure, I guess put in some sort of, mass type production. Advanced tissue engineering platform. And then they take that product of whatever it is from that engineering platform and tan it and finish it using sustainable methods to create the T-Rex leather. So, I don't know. Yeah.
It'd be kind of cool if they could do something like that and maybe engineer some skin for people.
Yeah, which is what I'm like, okay.
So all they have to do is just scan and find, the closest reptilian people. Like put them in like a little database or something, right?
Yeah.
Like you do bone marrow and stuff like that, and you go on our registry. Maybe they could do something like that and say, well, you're more 80% reptilian than, and then next thing you know, you got some skins. Maybe they could make it to where, can you imagine having that super sweet set of T-Rex leather pants when you go to the club? Little T-Rex leather.
Well, they have the handbag right there. And honestly, the handbag just looks like a normal leather handbag. And they just stamped or imprinted like the reptile pattern onto it.
Yeah, but that looks more like realistic than that weird mushroom hat, which looked like thick fuzz of some kind, like thick fleshy fuzz.
Well, we don't see what the inside of this bag looks like. For all we know, it could be that thick, weird fuzz.
I don't think so. I think it would be what they call rough out leather on the inside. So it'd just be the rough cut suede section.
But see, that's the other thing. Like, we're finding out dinosaurs were closer to birds. So this wouldn't be like a alligator skin or snake skin purse. This would be closer to like, idealistically, it would be closer to like if we skinned an ostrich or an emu.
You got some nice leathers.
Yeah.
Ostrich boots.
Yeah.
Emu. I don't know if they make emu boots. But.
I think they do.
So there you go. It's a new biotechnology material inspired by dinosaur-derived protein structures. I'm sure they're going to use the word slurry in there somewhere. They just put all this genetic goop together and come up with
what if one of these labs, like, suddenly, I don't know, gets shut down or something happens and they just leave it on the cooker and the cells keep reproducing? Is this when we get Jurassic Park?
Nah, it's when we get like a skin that you can wear like a rhino.
Oh, gosh.
Spider guy. That'd be kind of cool. Mm-hmm. All right, so I think that's about probably enough of our last episode follow-up.
Okay.
So let's explain to everybody that's been listening why we haven't done a podcast in a couple days. It's been probably a week or two.
Couple weeks.
It's just been more than that. So we did a couple things. We went down to South Carolina and had a little bit of an adventure.
Yeah.
I'm still working on video for that. We may have mentioned that last podcast. I don't remember, to be honest with you. But then you disappeared. You decided to leave me. You left me.
That's not true at all.
Yeah, it's totally true. I was by myself. Had to fend for myself. I was all alone.
This grown man had to fend for himself for 3.5 days.
But out of being all alone for those 3 days, I have come up with probably the best thing ever. And it is a crock pot hamburger, which I would like to share with you guys right now. What you do is you get your hamburger meat, right? Mm-hmm. Your chuck roast, your 80-20, your 70-30, your 90 whatever, right? And you thaw it out. And you stick it in a crock pot. And then you take a spoon, preferably a big spoon, and you smash it flat so that the entire bottom oval shape of your 4.3 quart crock pot is covered, right? And then you take the seasonings, which I'm not going to tell you what to do with that. You can make your own seasonings. And you sprinkle it on top. And then you start to fold the hamburger again, right? So you got a working area to spread out the seasonings on the top of the flattened hamburger. It's in the bottom of the 4.3 quart or 4.4 quart crock pot. Once you get it all mixed, you flatten it back out again to where it's about a ½ inch thick. Because I'm just going to assume that, most of you guys aren't independently wealthy and buy hamburger in 1 pound blocks, or you can figure out what a pound of hamburger looks like. That's what I used. Mm-hmm. And then you take it and you put the crock pot on high for about 10 or 15 minutes to get it really going. Mm-hmm. Then you turn it to medium. And then you just let it ride.
Okay.
And you cook it till it's done. Right?
Yeah.
And then when it's done, you basically take 2 turners or spatulas and you lift the hamburger up and you get it out of its delicious moisturizing hamburger juice.
Ugh.
It's delicious, right? And you put it on a plate. Then you put some cheese on it.
Yeah.
And then what you do is you have a cheese on this crock pot hamburger. Mm-hmm. And you're probably going to need a lot because it's a full pound. And then you figure out a way to melt the cheese. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You put it in a toaster oven, you put it in a regular oven, you can put it back in a crock pot after you got rid of all that grease. Right? Once it's been melted to your satisfaction,
Yeah.
then you pull it back out. And if you cut it in 4 using the turner, or otherwise known as spatula, it makes 4 quarter-pound hamburgers. Like real thick. Back in the old days, big, fat, gnarly hamburgers like you get from establishments like McDonald's and Wendy's and all that.
Yeah.
So it's like a 1/2 inch thick, and it's soft, and it's moist, and it's seasoned, and it's delicious. That's what I learned when you left me.
Oh, God. I didn't stop saying that.
I was by myself. I was so scared.
Would you stop? You're a full-grown man.
I was so scared. Oh, my gosh. It's like trying to sleep, and you hear all these weird noises.
Would you
It was terrible.
grow
CPAP
up?
machine wouldn't stay on my stupid face.
Grow up.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
See how this goes? I was scared and alone. She's telling me to grow up.
Full-grown man. You can survive for 3.5 days.
And I did. And I come up with something wonderful and amazing, and I made it for you, and you're like, this is a really good hamburger. And I'm like, I know.
Gosh.
And just so you know, you could eat those 4 hamburgers over 4 days, or you can just give about 45 minutes in between and eat them all.
God.
Heck yeah.
I was doing good
Delicious.
work out of town. Okay.
So what were you doing out of town? Don't give too many details, because we don't want people to know everything about you.
I was on TV.
Oh. Let's play a little something. Ready?
Are we even allowed to play a little something?
Nobody
Many
important.
Of you will remember this. Hurricane Helene devastated much of western North Carolina. The storm hit McDowell County between Morganton and Asheville especially hard. The area is recovering though, and the good news is it is open for visitors. We have Shannon Odom here and Omi Salver with us. They are from Destination McDowell, and it provides tourism in McDowell County, but they're here to tell you, come visit. We're open. We want to see you, right?
Yes, exactly. We're so excited to welcome people back to our area.
I am so excited that you came in today, because McDowell County is truly a gem. People don't realize everything that you have to offer. Tell us a little bit about it, Shannon.
It is. It's really this undiscovered area of western North Carolina to me. We sit right at the base of the Blue Ridge Escarpment, so half of our county is covered, a third of it is Pisgah National Forest.
Yes.
And then the top half is also the Blue Ridge Parkway, one of the most beautiful national parks that we have right here in our state. And then you have to the west a beautiful little town called Old Fort, which is really up and coming with brand new trails. There's new businesses opening. And then on the east side of the county is Lake James State Park. So it's just full of all these natural attractions from Little Switzerland and Linville Caverns, one of the show caverns of the state. And so really we offer a little bit of everything for everyone.
You have so much to offer. Are you 100% back open now, or will you still see some of the effects?
We are very proud of our county. I'm confident saying we're pretty much 90 to 95% open.
Love hearing that.
I mean, like Linville Caverns, they were affected significantly.
Yes.
I was there for their grand opening, and everything's raring to go. We want people to come and see, we're a great county. We have all this stuff. It is open and available. So from our hiking trails to Catawba Falls, which is my favorite waterfall, everything's been repaired. We can't wait for y'all to come see it.
You have a lot of waterfalls.
Yeah, we have about 8 waterfalls in our county. I'm super particular to Catawba Falls. It was part of the one of the Great American Outdoors projects on the East Coast, and we have a 30-story observation tower, 580 steps, but it leads to one of the most amazing waterfalls in western North Carolina.
We always talk about getting grounded and getting back to nature. McDowell County is one of the perfect places to do that. You have camping, you have hiking. If you like to take pictures, if you like to see beautiful sunrises and sunsets.
Yes.
And do shopping too. Lots of cool little places to shop.
Yes, Marion is what we call where the main street meets the mountains.
Yes.
And so you have wonderful boutiques. There's microbreweries downtown. There's a new wine shop that just opened. So really full of things. And then just outside of that, on the way up, is a beautiful area called North Cove. So we have a beautiful disc golf course up there. And then you get up to the Linville Falls area before you know it. And you have, of course, all of the Linville Gorge right there. And then just our backyard is full of the natural attractions that Pisgah National Forest offers. We have beautiful fly fishing rivers, and to us really one of the family friendly things that we love to do, which will be back opening as well, is the Catawba River and the tubing that we have.
Yes.
So it's a wonderful place to tube.
Yeah, we're a good destination for just tubing, and our Blue Ridge Snorkel Trail. All of those are just, you'd never think snorkeling, but
snorkeling,
we are one of those Blue Ridge snorkeling spots.
Oh, very cool.
So,
So if people want information, they want to be able to see more and maybe even find ways to make reservations or whatever, where do they go?
Definitely go to destinationmcdowell.com. We have a really great social media presence, so Destination McDowell for Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and even Facebook.
Awesome.
And that was awesome. So as to whether or not it's supposed to be played, I don't know. As I was saying before, I don't think that they're ever going to listen to us, and we'll put a link to it. But don't be scared.
It's not that they probably have things that crawl podcasts, okay?
Maybe. We'll put a link to where it comes from.
Okay.
Take it down. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? But anyway, I thought it was pretty cool, and I was surprised that you didn't have an opportunity, because she goes on to talk about like some barbecue festival or something, but to slip in the Brown Mountain Lights.
Because we had exactly 1 minute and 45 seconds to talk.
Okay. Well, next time you leave with that.
And
be like, hey.
We had another one where
Brown Mountain Lights.
They were supposed to ask me about the gorge, but Shannon answered.
You should have blasted in there and go. And don't forget, Shannon, to tell about the underground military base. It's in Linville.
So essentially, I was on TV, and I spoke to several journalists, and I went on to TV stations, and I talked to another station. That's in the works. But the whole goal was to let people know that one of the most significantly impacted areas post-Helene is now open. Everyone knows Chimney Rock was severely impacted, but so is Old Fort, and so is Little Switzerland. Those particular areas are nearly 100%. I would say Little Switzerland's about 90-ish%. Old Fort, honestly, they're waiting on 2 businesses downtown, and unfortunately the library had some problems with their repairs, but Old Fort's ready to go.
Heck yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
Come on down to...
But what I did want to say was, when I talked to the journalists, I may have mentioned a bit about not just the Brown Mountain Lights, but Bigfoot. So we're hoping, yeah.
So while you were doing several broadcasts, I was eating several hamburgers and sandwiches.
Anyways.
Heck yeah. It was nice. So anyway, there you go. So she left me, but she came back.
Just stop it.
I told you about the hamburger. I sent you a picture, and you're like, I'm in. I'll be back. I was like, heck yeah.
That's how that went.
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty much. So let's talk about the Pope for a second. So, I'm not the most religious person in the world. Mm-hmm. And I actually asked, I don't remember who I talked. I think I was actually talking to you.
Yeah.
Where I was like, do we have a new Pope yet? Because, and then the next day, boom, we had a Pope. And not only did we have a Pope, but he's an American Pope. And I think that's the first time ever, right?
I think he's from Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's used to be Robert Prevost, but now he's Pope Leo the XIV. Is that 14?
I believe
Probably,
so.
right.
Yeah.
So he is from Chicago. And so his ideology and how he thinks things need to go aside, because, like I said, there's a little bit of an issue, sort of a dust-up about the Pope and the fact that he's wearing a wristwatch, right?
Yeah.
And popes wear watches.
Okay.
But this one, I think, it seemed to catch some, I don't know. I don't know why this is important, but it seemed to kind of throw people off there. And it says, the new Pope wears a watch, and this is from Esquire magazine, right? And it says, as with most things the Pope wears, people have a lot of feelings about it. In other words, how he dresses and all this, and all that's important. And I mean, there's been conspiracies around that. like how the Pope's vestments and things that they wear, and they'll have different scenes like embroidered on them, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's UFOs, that's aliens, that's all, that's what's the demon that the politicians, Baphomet, that whole thing.
Okay.
And we typically stay away from that because it's a rabbit hole, and it doesn't really lead anywhere good. Like, oh, that's Baphomet, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure right now people that know that are like, what is that? This is very important. So when he made his first public appearance as the head of the Catholic Church, right, he spoke about humility, unity, and peace, but he had this watch on.
Yeah.
And so the watch-obsessed community, right, and I like watches. I have a little bit of a collection going on.
Yeah.
Everybody was in that community wasn't really listening to what they're saying. They were looking at his wrist, trying to figure out what watch he was wearing.
Oh.
And that's kind of important to the watch nerds. I mean, if you look at some of the, it makes news, right? Like Bill Gates is wearing a, cheap Casio, or actually he was wearing a Casio Duro one time, which is a $50 Casio dive watch, and everybody went crazy. And then former President Barack Obama was wearing an F91W watch, and that made him super cool because it's a dirt cheap, inexpensive vintage watch. And what a lot of people, they mention that, but they also don't mention that they call that the terrorist bombing watch because it's a dirt cheap watch that they'd hand out, and people set the time on it, and then they go do their terrible stuff. So, but what was he actually wearing? Why was it red? His watch had a red bezel on. It's like, did the new Pope just debut a Rolex GMT Master 2? No. Could His Holiness be really flexing a luxury dive watch on his first day? So, and they say it wouldn't be the first time because Pope John Paul II actually wore a two-tone date just on a Jubilee bracelet. And some of these watches, they go anywhere between $5,000 and $100,000, right? So,
yeah.
And Pope Francis, previous Pope, he kept things pretty humble with a black plastic Swatch watch, like $50.
Yeah.
So that was, something they do a little comparison between the two to try to give you an idea, because what you wear as a watch says a lot about who you are.
Yeah.
Bill Gates is faking when he puts on a cheesy watch. He's faking. I don't care what anybody says. And President Obama's just trying to be cool because everybody else is doing it, right? It's just my opinion. I'm just saying. I don't wear expensive watches. I have a couple that are nice, but I typically don't wear expensive watches. I wear practical watches that look decent enough, but they can also design to where you go out and work with it and stuff, and you beat it up and it's fine, right? Like, for example, the Dalai Lama, he's been seen wearing Rolexes.
Yeah.
And you think, why does the Dalai Lama need a Rolex? But I guess if that's what it is. Because he had like a date reference, 18038 with a yellow gold case and a sunburst blue dial. And sometimes he paired it up with an aftermarket steel elastic strap.
What are these Patek Philippe?
Yeah, Patek.
What are these? I'm looking at the
Those are
prices.
nice, expensive watches. So,
shopping.
yeah.
Oh.
So, naturally the watch community is like, whoa, what is that, right? So they're thinking that maybe Leo was wearing a Wenger Swiss Military 7223X, which is a 1990s quartz field watch with a punchy red bezel. And they have since christened it so far Cardinal Red.
Oh.
It's no trophy piece. It's utilitarian. It's durable, and it's priced firmly below the hype horology radar. It means it's cheap, right? And they're not too cheap, but it's cheap.
Yeah, it looks like it's under 500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about Seiko range. Mm-hmm. And I have a couple Seiko watches, and I really have a hard time looking at going over $500 for a watch, unless you get in a smartwatch range, it's a little bit different. But so he started wearing this, and it's a nice watch. It's basically got your numerals in there. Your indices are pretty nice. The face is wide open so you can see. Has that punchy red dial on it. The day block is down in the between, it's like 4:30 position or whatever, which is aggravating. But about 368 pounds or about $500, and so that's what they're saying, right? People started buying it, but it's probably not that watch. So internet sleuths have been zoomed in, and they've basically seen a bunch of differences between the Wenger watch that people think it is and what he's wearing. So Reddit says it's Timex, and others say it's Casio, but really nobody knows. So there you go.
Okay.
So they're really, and the whole reason behind this is that, nobody really knows exactly what this Pope is going to do.
Okay.
So I just thought that was something. So it's not a Rolex. It's probably not a Wanger, but nobody really knows. What do you think about that? You're like, what's the point of even putting this in here?
Yeah.
It's weird news.
Okay.
This thing blew up. People are like, oh my God, peeping on his watch, man, trying to see what's going on. I was super excited. And because of that, I went out and bought $20 worth of cheap Casio watches because they were on sale. But I am kind of curious if they ever have figured it out or if he's worn that watch again or what the deal is. Because on that day when he's doing his very first thing out there as the new Pope, everything he's wearing is deliberate. Everything is intentional. So that watch was a deliberate, intentional choice. I'd like a story to come out that, maybe a cardinal gave it to him somewhere and it had a lot of meaning to him. So that's why he wore it,
Okay.
But I don't know.
All right.
I know how you were just incredibly excited by that. Let me tell you about the Sharpie S gel pen in copper.
I'm going to. I thought this would lead up to things about the Pope or the Pope theories, like the Saint Malachy theory.
No, it doesn't. That's the whole point.
What
people are making it out to be something crazy. Like, why is he wearing that? What's the deal? There you go. Nobody knows. He's a wild card, man. He's from America. He's the first. Nobody really knows. They don't really have any real idea.
You could have tied this into the Saint Malachy theory that the prophecy of the 14th Pope being the last Pope.
Yeah, but you know what? They say that all the time. This is the last Pope. Now they're saying, because he's American, he's definitely the last Pope. Because all the popes didn't come from America, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can make all of these the end of the world. I told you it's coming. Eventually, they're going to be right with everything. It's definitely going to be the end of the world sometime. But so far, they're wrong.
Yeah, so and allegedly, it's anywhere from, the two most common things are it's either the 14th Pope or the 16th is the last Pope. Or is it just like the Mayan calendar and somebody ran out of
They're like, wait a
stone?
minute. If you go back and use, instead of Gregorian calendar time, it'll be Pope 20. Pope 20 is going to be the last Pope. And he'll be the Antichrist. He'll be the anti-Pope. The Pope will be the anti-Pope. Yeah, they don't really know. So speaking of don't really know, I thought this was actually pretty interesting because we do talk about UFOs and drones. And I'm to the point now with most of these things I think is just military.
Okay.
And there's been some skirmishes going on with this 6th generation fighters of China, a stealth fighter, that they, all that stuff. But I seen this article and I had to put it in there. It basically says an ex-NASA official claims to have seen a flying saucer with a U.S. Air Force logo on it.
Okay.
That's kind of neat, right? That would go a long way to explain some things. But my thing is that if you're trying to be secret about it, why would you put an Air Force logo on it?
Yeah.
It's the same reason, like, why did that UFO have a red and green blinking light? Why does he need that, right? So it could be visible. But if you have a UFO coming from somewhere else, another time, dimension, whatever, you're not going to put navigation lights on it and stuff. And they say, well, wait, he's just trying to mimic other aircrafts so they can blend in. I don't think that's the issue, but yeah. No. So this was a retired flight surgeon, and he maintains that he saw a secretive saucer-shaped vehicle belonging to the U.S. Air Force. Dr. Gregory Rogers is former NASA chief surgeon and Air Force major, and basically said that he'd been conducting an inspection when he was approached by an Air Force major, invited him in to come in and see something he claimed to knock his socks off. So he was taken to a room where he's shown a closed-circuit television feed of something extraordinary, a saucer-shaped vehicle with the U.S. Air Force logo clearly emblazoned on it. He says about 20 feet wide, probably 8 to 10 feet tall, and it had a shallow dome on top of it. There are no antennas, no flight control surfaces. Everything was very smooth and blended. No rivets, no seams, nothing. It says that everything was white, but there was a vertical black rectangle about 3 o'clock in the 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock position. So, and without warning, it started to move. So, The reason why I put this in here, it just seems like we're having a lot of information start coming out, right? It seems to be more and more where things sort of tie in. We talked about in our previous podcast where scientists were saying, hey, we figured out how to basically use plasma as propulsion and a new different type of energy to be used possibly for propulsion by using a different type of gravity. Okay. So China was talking about their 6th generation stealth fighter. And then Boeing comes out and releases information about the latest craft they have. And we're like, hey, we got one too. And it's been flying for 5 years, and it allegedly has sort of a roundish, almost dome shape to it. It could be saucer related. Yeah. So when you start hearing more and more and seeing some correlations with things that, it's probably more along the lines of we're going to start seeing some next generation fighters, next generation military technology that's been around for a long time. It's finally coming out. So you know what that means?
What?
Not everything is Starlink. A lot of it's military and drones. So I know you're real excited by this. I can tell. We're 30 minutes in the podcast, and you're trying to take a sleep. Now, here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Why isn't this in the Space Force? If it looks like a saucer. You think they're like, come on, guys. This is obviously UFO. Why can't we get some of this? We're Space Force. Air Force is like, yeah, but it's going to be in the air more than space. Like, you don't know that.
Probably.
They're fighting.
It's probably still in development.
Or, see, our development phase can be, we're going to fly this thing for 5 years, and then we'll just kind of pop out with it one day. Like, wow, look at this SR-71 Blackbird. It's amazing. It's like, I've been flying that thing for a decade. So that thing, I think that was a U-2 spy planes. Brother. Yep. Okay, well, let me move on to something else since you're not that excited about it.
I'm
terribly excited
honestly.
about it. You should be.
And I'm more terrified about this one about the space bugs. So
it's not space bugs. That's unknown bacteria. This is every space alien /
I know.
Hey, guys, we're in the space station and check it out. And it's like, I just watched part of that movie with Ryan Reynolds and something. It wasn't very good. But you got attacked by some protoplasmic thing from.
And count on the Sun to use an article article headline like "Space Bugs." However, the actual, article is terrifying in the sense that it's an unknown bacteria and it's been found on China's space station, never seen on Earth, and with a unique ability. So the astronauts swabbed this cabin, and the scientists are still working out whether or not N-Tiangonesis poses any threat to astronauts' health.
So they've already given it a name?
Yeah. Now, here's a messed up thing. So they found it in the Tiangong, which I guess is the Chinese half of this particular space station.
Yes.
And that translates to heavenly orbit or heavenly space or even heavenly father. So they swabbed the bacteria and immediately named it Nialea Tiangonesis. So they swabbed the cabin in May 2023, and they're just now getting around to talking about it May 2025. Researchers from the Shenzhou Space Biotechnology Group and Beijing Institute of Spacecraft System Engineering say the study of this new bacteria and others is essential in protecting astronauts' health. While it is related to similar bacteria on Earth, it's not clear whether the new bacteria, where it came from, where it evolved from, or if it evolved on the station. It's possible it arrived in spore form with at least a few of its distinguishing features in place. They're still trying to determine whether it poses any threat to astronauts' health. That's just terrifying, because a bacterial cousin of this bacteria that's on Earth can cause sepsis in immunocompromised patients. Oh, jeez. That's just terrifying.
Yes, I just a list of stuff I got to worry about.
Yeah.
AI.
Oh, and this particular Tiangonesis bacteria has the rare ability to build a protective biofilm shield over itself when conditions become too extreme to survive.
You mean like if you're trying to kill it before it comes down and takes over the planet?
Yeah, so...
And mixes with mushrooms?
What'd they do? Put this next to a tardigrade and let it just...
I mean, they probably tried to do some ultraviolet tests and things like that. And it's like, oh, let me build a thick cell shell. Shields up. And it builds this. And then there you go.
Related bacteria that are on Earth are able to consume other energy-packed substances for survival. But this particular bacteria appears to have lost this ability.
So that means it has to attach to a human to get its energy.
Oh, God.
And it's going to take it over.
Fantastic.
And we're going to have a new virus.
Bacteria.
Yeah.
We're going to have a new bacteria.
And we're going to say, we're pretty sure that thing came from space. No, it didn't.
No.
It didn't come from some weird lab in Wuhan. No. So let's see if it goes really out of control, then they're going to have to bring down the space station and say, you know what? If we burn it up in the atmosphere, it won't survive. So they'll probably try to blow it up first.
I'm horrified.
Thereby spreading the bacteria everywhere. We'll go out in space, be in this little dormant phase, and then they'll try to burn it down. I mean, because if Starlink can bombard us with pieces of satellite and also pieces of Dragon capsule, that's just the Chinese, because they don't tell everybody.
Would you stop?
So we need to check the news to see if any large chunks of Chinese satellites are coming down, and they could be the space station. So now there is a video, and we do have a link that you can kind of go and check it out. But the space station looks kind of nice. It's all nice and pretty in there. It probably spruced up real good. So they need some of that spray that kills stuff. That's the Lysol. So there you go. What do you think about that?
I think that will keep me awake at night. Okay?
Yes. All right. Well, keep going. Keep talking. I just closed out all my podcast notes. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, so this new thing, I didn't know it had a name, but scientists are now exploring a brain glitch that is the exact opposite of deja vu.
Yes.
So if you have ever had...
You think they would call it Vujade.
I know,
no,
right?
they do not.
If you've ever had the feeling that something you are experiencing is new or alien, even when it shouldn't be, most of us will be familiar with the sensation of having lived a particular moment before, a phenomenon known as deja vu. But there is another lesser-known variation of this known as jamais vu.
Jamais vu.
Jamais vu. That can occur when you get the sense that something that should be familiar to you suddenly feels alien or unknown.
Yeah.
An example of this once happened to psychology professor Dr. Akira O'Connor of the University of St. Andrews in Scotland, who has since been working to understand how the phenomenon arises. He had been driving along when all of a sudden he got an overwhelming sense of jamais vu and had to pull over to remind himself how to use the steering wheel and pedals. He and his colleague have since determined that this strange sensation can happen when something you are doing, such as driving, becomes so automatic that your brain suddenly snaps you out of that automation and requires you to consciously think about it again. The researchers found that they could reproduce the phenomenon on demand by asking volunteers to repeatedly write down the same word over and over again. Around 70% of those participating ended up having to stop at least once due to jamais vu. Those who have experienced it described it as being as though the word had suddenly lost all meaning. You can experience this yourself by also verbally repeating the same word over and over. The feeling of unreality is in fact a reality check, the research team wrote. It makes sense that this has to happen. Our cognitive systems must stay flexible, allowing us to direct our attention to wherever it is needed rather than getting lost in repetitive tasks for too long. So that's a little worrisome because manufacture jobs, you repeat the same process over and over and over again. And that's something that's very common in factories and manufacture places where there's these high risk accidents that occur. Is it due to this repetition? Is it due to jamais vu?
It could be.
I mean, it's been blamed on other things like, this guy was just having a bad day, or he lost his train of thought, or maybe his brain was just like, I've made 3,000 thingamajigs in the past month, and my brain is like, doesn't remember how to make a thingamajig anymore.
Yeah.
You know? So, I don't know. I think that's odd.
I think they could probably easily fix that, though, if it ever becomes like this is directly causing this by having somebody who's doing that repetitive sort of task over and over again do something that's more random.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're making your widget, do, and all of a sudden you got to tap the red light in 2 seconds or whatever. A red light pops up and you have to tap it. So it will kind of break you out of that. But I've had that trying to write words and like, here we go. And you're starting to write something. You just have to stop and go, what is that?
For the first time in a long time.
Or try to figure out spelling. Like, you're like, why does that word not look right to me?
First time in a long time, I actually had to count out and do the little kid Albuquerque.
Well, yeah, that's just breaking it up. So,
but for a moment there,
using
I was just
phonetics.
Like, I was just like, I forgot how did I forget to spell this? You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, and, you know, I don't know if this is exactly close to that, but you know, sometimes you run into that. Like when I was getting gas the other day and I couldn't remember my zip code, so I kept entering the wrong zip code.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a little something kind of strange. So, all right. So moving back into the podcast again, this is something we need to talk about. It's a bit of a conspiracy. This is a conspiracy that's been around for a long time, and allegedly it's been confirmed by a Bush official.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes like this. So this is a Bush official who basically says that underground cities built for millionaires at the end of time, whenever that happens or comes, are ready. Right? $21 trillion underground city for the rich and powerful. So they can live there if we have like an extinction or a near extinction event.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long has this rumor been going around?
Forever.
Yeah. And there's a series of transit corridors under the U.S. and connect one coast to the other. And, you know, under the ocean, the tunnels go so far. All this crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
So the claim is that the U.S. built secret $21 trillion underground city for the rich and powerful to live. And this is not during, like, Herbert Walker Bush. This is his dad, George W. Bush, Herbert Walker. Who's his dad? Elder Bush.
I should not type that into.
No, don't do that. So about 170 such bunkers have been built across the U.S. or the country since 1998.
Herbert Walker was the 41st. W was the 43rd.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like, what?
But hasn't this rumor basically
74-year-old Catherine Austin told Tucker Carlson during a recent appearance on this podcast.
Okay.
It's preparation for catastrophe.
We've been hearing rumors like this since at least before the Cold War, honestly.
More after the Cold War. See, before the Cold War, a lot of underground facilities were there to store ammunition and things like that and be able to fight the fight. Well, it really sort of kicked in after the atomic bomb drops and the testing. So the idea is that as soon as the first atomic bomb was detonated, they started building underground tunnels and stuff. And if you live out in the Southwest, you hear it all the time, right? Taos Hum could be because of that. Could be because of the nuclear drilling machine, to kind of melt the cavern walls as it goes through. Huge underground something under the Denver airport.
Yeah.
Right? Underground highways connecting one place to the other, and like in New Mexico, connecting like from Kirkland Air Force Base to somewhere else, and to Los Alamos, and on the East Coast. There definitely are underground facilities. That's where does the president go when something bad happens, and Greenbrier in West Virginia and all these places. But allegedly, a lot of the underground facility construction and stuff stopped for a while, and then it sort of came back again. And there's also even where we are, right, where Linville Caverns are, underground military base in Linville, and it keeps going. And some of that sort of ties into, well, that's why we have so many earthquakes in the area. They're still building. They're making underground tunnels. But what if that's true? What if that's really a thing, and that is reason why this area gets a lot of like weird earthquakes? Like, why would we be having all these earthquakes and stuff? And there was a 4.1 earthquake that happened weeks ago in Tennessee.
Yeah, like a week ago.
Yeah. But I mean, there's been way more than that. You know.
Yeah. So
$21 trillion to build an underground, and also that's been the rumor that rich people were building their own bunkers.
And that's the thing about this person, because technically some of her career background would allude to the fact that she has connections with very ultra rich people. But then you go further into some of her stuff, and she does a lot of interviews and talk with alternate media, is what some people are calling it.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, because nobody, I mean, stuff that
and it's funny though, because some of the stuff, you know, if you read it, it's like she's been attached to some other theories as well. Some have been proven, and some have been not proven yet.
Yeah, well, if you take her research and compare it against like missing cash, like how much money has sort of just disappeared, she says that she's been able to make a guess on how many facilities there really are.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at all the missing cash that's been going on, been earmarked just to go to weird things and like Doge and all that stuff, trying to find this stuff. I mean, maybe it is where all that's going, or a good chunk of it.
Yeah.
You know?
And she originally made this theory back in 2017 in a co-authored report with an economist. But I guess she's come back around making basically more targeted revelations. So I think they're...
Well, she's got no evidence to back up what she's saying. And no mainstream media is going to put her on the air and say this sort of thing. Why would they? They're too busy lying about everything. You know, everything from the weather to whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, but what if she's so she came back around for round 2. Maybe she's like, okay, well, let me give you more information. So she's claiming only 170, that number, applies to bases on U.S. soil around its coastline, and saying that there's a possibility that even more exists around the world.
Yeah.
So, and all these bases are connected by an elaborate transportation system, and are powered by a secret energy system known only to the military.
Yeah.
Could it be like this secret energy system that these scientists go, hey, this could be a different type of propulsion using gravity? I mean, if a couple college kids can make a pizza box sized drone fly using no energy whatsoever, just based off of plasma, at a science fair, imagine if you have, you know, the modern day equivalent of Operation Paperclip going on.
Yeah.
I don't know. So from the 1950s through 1990s, all these bunkers that were made to house people of Congress, or senators and congressmen, I guess, just expand on it. So you're not buying it?
I don't know.
Wake up, man. This is happening. And we're never going to be able to get in there. They're going to come to the door and go, is your social security number? And you're going to go, am I being detained? And they're just going to check off that list and say, well, they didn't want to comply. They're not going to want to live underground and be a productive part of society. Okay, thanks.
Isn't there a TV show going on right now with the same
There's been movies like this.
Okay, yeah.
What was it? You had the Big Impact was one.
Yeah.
Where they came and grabbed people. So it happens. There's a bunch of movies like that where they get whisked away because it's a near extinction event.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of crazy. So here's somebody's past that didn't think they were going to catch up with them.
Okay.
So they're talking about like politics and stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. So Creepy Clown's past haunts mayoral candidate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a British mayoral candidate hopes that voters can overlook an unfortunate past incident, whereas he was busted terrifying people while dressed as a creepy clown.
Oh.
So he's running for office in the city of Doncaster, right? Mm-hmm. And Richie Valens expressed regret over his brief stint as a haunting harlequin nearly a decade ago. So the misguided moment occurred in 2016, where he was basically caught roaming the streets in a clown mask and stumbled upon a pair of hospital workers who were basically freaked out by it.
Oh,
so
wow.
looking back on the incident, he Basically, he was convicted of causing public distress, and he was banned from dressing as a clown. So, like, hey, you can't do that. You can't dress as a clown anymore. I'm like, oh, no. So he was like, I'm not proud of it, but I have changed a lot since then. And as for what motivated his odd behavior back in 2016, he claimed that the costume was a form of protest against the gangs that had been bullying him.
I'm sorry, but here in America, that would have the opposite effect. If you walked outside dressed as a creepy clown, people will gang up on you. And
well, maybe because we actually have talked about this about 10 or 15 times in the podcast. Where a lot of people don't do that. They just run away all scared. Like, oh, they're back again. It was like seasonal for a minute. So there you go.
Yeah.
So of all the things to worry about coming out, the skeletons in your closet, if you're going to run for public office, being a creepy clown is right in there.
He was handed down a 16-week prison sentence for the offenses. That prison sentence was suspended for 12 months. So he got convicted.
He got convicted, but if he was good for 12 months, he didn't have to go to jail.
Wow.
But either way, I think he may not do so well in his endeavors to be mayor.
Yeah.
Of Doncaster or wherever it was. So that was kind of crazy. Of all the things you worry about in your closet. Like so. In a debate. Can you tell me about the time you were a creepy clown and got convicted? So continuing with the creepy clown thing, there was a creepy clown who was terrorizing a Swedish town.
Okay.
Yeah. So brought to our attention, this came from Coast to Coast AM, brought to our attention by Swedish high strangeness researcher Fred Anderson. There's an unsettling case where early April, like youngsters in Stockholm, in this suburb of Marsta, returned home to find, they had some troubling tales of their encounter with a creepy clown, right? Yeah. It says, he chases children and frightens them.
Okay.
So,
oh, wow. He wielded a fake knife and tormented a 10-year-old girl.
Yeah.
She screamed in fear, the perturbed parent said, but the man just laughed and kept running after them.
Yeah.
No. No.
It's silly. It's terrifying to the kid. And, I'm pretty sure that would catch you an ass whooping here.
Yeah.
So, actually, you might get shot at a little bit.
Yeah. So he seems to be getting a thrill from scaring the kids. We're worried about what he might do next. Yeah, I am too. Expressing similar sentiments, one of the residents detailed how her young daughter and her friends had been particularly unnerved by an experience with the weirdo. The guy in the clown mask came at them on an electric scooter. He screamed in a creepy way and nearly ran into them when they tried to run. She said, it's really disturbing. For their part, Marsta authorities indicated that there may be little they can do about the clown. If he's just riding around in a mask and making strange noises, it's not a crime. But if he repeatedly directs sounds or words at the same person, that can count as harassment. Since the more serious crime of appearing to wield a weapon has seemingly not been reported to the police, they've encouraged residents to immediately contact authorities should their kids encounter the clown, rather than simply sharing the strange stories amongst themselves. Oh, wow. Meanwhile, Tengerstrom, a resident, called upon her fellow townspeople to do their part in helping to unmask the miscreant, writing on social media, someone in this community must know who he is. Better to tip the police one time too many than one too few. I'm sorry, does Sweden, or do they...
Well, okay, so like I said,
yeah,
if he hasn't been doing that,
but
if he's just making noises riding around with scary masks, that's not against the law.
But
you harass people, then it becomes against the law.
So, but whereas harassment, you have to harass the same person more than once. You can say this falls under menacing. I mean, if he was approaching the kids, a group of kids, with the scooter and like nearly hitting them, that is menacing.
It could be.
So
this is one of those things where you got to have that CCTV footage.
Yeah.
So you can make a determination. But there's a lot of butthead YouTubers out there that try to do the provoking thing, and they run around and cause problems.
Yeah.
But it's a creepy clown. Would you have the same sort of reaction if it's a creepy Santa Claus? running around?
Yes.
Maybe. So, but it's sort of tied in with the. So when this guy goes to run for office, if he ever gets caught, he's probably going to have problems, right?
I mean, it seems like a very small town. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, speaking of a small town, so remember the Bigfoot Museum in California we actually talked about?
Yeah.
And it basically was closing.
Yeah.
Well, evidently it caught on fire.
Oh.
Yeah. So they had to go through. This is it's basically a fire erupted on the property. And the incident occurred on the grounds of the shuttered Bigfoot Discovery Museum in Felton, California. So it's pretty aggressive fire, what they were saying.
But it hit a structure there, not the actual museum. The museum itself was spared. So that's a particularly fortunate development since the museum closed in late 2024.
Right.
And a lot of the collection is still there inside the building, which I thought the big thing was he had to move all his stuff out of the building.
He just hadn't done it yet.
Okay.
Well, he's hoping somebody's going to come take it over.
Yeah.
Now, nobody is definitely going to come take it over now.
No.
The structure attached to it,
Yeah.
whatever it is burnt. Then that means, in possibility, they might have to condemn the whole thing. Now, there also has been theories that, that property is valuable.
Yeah, I could see that.
So the values of the property is like, well, if we just kind of burn it up a little bit, then it won't be valuable. Like, dude can't afford to keep it up and running.
Yeah.
He's going to have to sell. So I thought that was kind of weird. It's like, that's kind of strange. Also kind of weird was the other part of that sort of ties into it is that Idaho City now has a Bigfoot influencer.
Oh.
Yeah. So Idaho City, and we've talked about this past where it seems like smaller towns and stuff, if there's any even instance or hint of Bigfoot, right? Jump right on it.
Yeah.
Let's incorporate this Bigfoot hunting licenses, the state animal is Bigfoot, all that sort of thing, right? And so now Idaho City, they're going to use an influencer, right? So it's a city in Idaho. They're looking at using and enlisting Bigfoot as something of an influencer to showcase that the community has to offer to other visitors. Like the last podcast we talked about, I think it was Seattle or somewhere like that with the 10,000 Bigfoot faces. Now they got this guy. You
know what though? This would work in Idaho. It would not work here.
Yeah, I think it's in Pocatello, Idaho. But yeah, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't necessarily work here.
Well, because so last year I had to do a photo shoot of Bigfoot checking into the Holiday Inn Express, and it was a very elaborate costume. It was a pretty impressive costume, but every 3 minutes, Bigfoot had to take that hood off because we were measuring temperature, and Bigfoot may have had a temperature going of 103 and was overheating from just how hot.
Yeah.
So it was like Bigfoot watching TV, instant break. Bigfoot checking into the nice hotel, instant break. Bigfoot,
so did he not splurge for the expensive suit that had fans in it, or
the
did he
fan broke?
Oh,
the fan broke.
Fan broke. He didn't have batteries.
Well, no, we had batteries. But because it had two fans, right? One of them, the fan broke. The most important one, which is right here, right at your face, like right at your throat, and the one in the back, we put batteries in, and we're like, why is it not going off? So. But yeah, it was an expensive suit. So, but Idaho, you're probably cold enough that y'all can get away with it.
It gets hot there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this tourism group or whoever it is in Pocatello, Idaho, right, doesn't really say what their names is. They've been sharing drone footage of they call it of the faux cryptid marching towards community gathering.
Yeah.
Right, and they explain he's been hiding in the mountains and forests for so long, but ever since Pocatello has received him with open arms, he's making strides into the public eye. Yeah. So they've created a bunch of other various social media accounts for the Pocatello Bigfoot, saying share your many, many great experiences and interactions since he's come out of the woods.
Yeah.
Right. And they're like, the clever campaign in Idaho City is the latest in what's become a litany of communities who have turned to the legendary cryptid as a means of basically getting more money into their community.
Yeah.
Yeah. South Milwaukee's doing one too, where they introduced Sam the Sasquatch last July, and Harriman, Utah City, they have a Yeti mascot now.
Huh.
So that's kind of scary though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the Bigfoot's coming out of the woods, guys. He's coming to your town. It's just kind of like, what if you're a little kid and you're like, well, your parents tell you, don't go up there. That's where Bigfoot lives.
Yeah.
And you're scared. Now he's coming to your house. we got drone footage. He's coming into your house.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, but it seems to be the thing, right? Everybody's doing it. And these little towns, like, we just need one Bigfoot sighting, and we're going to go all in. Mm-hmm. We need one scary place to make a paranormal passport situation happen. So, yeah, I don't know. So you had the one blaze at a beloved Bigfoot museum in California, which kind of burned up some stuff, not the museum, but now there's a new paranormal museum opening in Savannah, Georgia.
Which I'm kind of excited about, so, yeah.
Is this the place, do you know, where other
Yes.
what do you call them? See, that's just it, because you can have a place that's all Bigfoot, but what if you have one in companies like a little bit of everything?
I don't know.
Like what would
all encompassing?
No, I mean as a name. Oh, thanks. I mean as a name. You can't call it like 14 Museum or whatever, and you don't want to call it like a Curiosities type place. You can't really call it like a paranormal shop kind of a thing. Mm. But if this place is opened up and it's accepting some of the things that have come from other places,
yeah,
this is where you jump in here and explain, like.
So the reason
we just talked about this like 2 days ago, remember?
So this new museum opened May 1st, has over 150 eerie artifacts that the curators have amassed from private collections, other museums, paranormal investigations, and hapless recipients of haunted items.
Yes.
And I'm really glad about this because one of the last paranormal museums we visited was Micaville Outpost in Micaville, North Carolina. And they were unfortunately destroyed by Hurricane Helene. I got to see some of the footage for their particular shop, and it was leveled.
Yeah.
One side of the building fell in, and lots of things were destroyed. And what made it worse was the building was so unsafe that it took a while for the owners and the curators of the museum to actually be able to go in and retrieve their items.
Yeah.
Now, I do know they had a very haunted doll there, and they had some other just some really weird curios, and those have now found their home here at this Savannah Paranormal Museum. Savannah, yeah.
Savannah.
My nose is stuffing up, and nobody's hit mute, so I'm like trying to pronounce things.
Mute doesn't exist on this podcast. Mm-hmm. Just roll right on through it. So, I guess it's just going to be called Savannah Paranormal Museum.
Yeah.
In Savannah, Georgia. So, I don't know. That's going to be pretty cool. So, if there's a place and there's that doll right there.
Yeah.
Wow. So, we'll see. Because we actually know of two places that have closed.
Yeah.
One pretty much because of structural reasons caused by, I guess, age of the building. And the other one's basically closed because of natural reasons.
Yeah, Helene.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Pretty crazy. But we'll have to take a trip down there and kind of see.
I know, I'm kind of excited.
So we do have a link to it. So if you want to kind of check it out, you can kind of get an idea if you're in Georgia and you want to go see what's going on. It'd be kind of good to see if we could recognize some of the things that came from other places in there. So we might take a trip down Savannah way.
Yeah.
We're not going to go when it's super hot.
Which is the next 2-3 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So I think we're going to take a second to wrap up the podcast with this. There's been a little bit of a problem in this California neighborhood with exploding birds.
Yeah. And isn't this a trend, though? I could have sworn I saw this.
No, it's not really a trend.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it could be. But so the problem with this is that it's exploding birds plague a California neighborhood, right? And it's just horrifying. And there's a video if you kind of want to watch it. So in this California neighborhood, residents are at their wits' end because there's a mystery where dozens of birds have been basically inexplicably died inexplicably died. I can't even say it. When they land on one particular power line. Now, the thing about it is a bird can hang out on a power line all day long.
Yeah.
They have to be grounded in order for them to die. So why is it when they hit this one line, they die?
Is the line not? I don't know.
So it's in Richmond, California, right? So the residents been finding all these animals littering the pavement, these birds, and some home security footage, and the spot where the downed birds are, right, which now are over 50, have been discovered. So the suspicions basically are saying that there's one piece of this power line that's been causing it. Right? But there was a witness and a couple witnesses, but this guy, Mark Honer, he says that you remember hearing it sound like a firecracker before a Starlink just plummeted to the ground.
Yeah.
So he was obviously concerned, and so residents have actually called, as well, into the authorities to get to the bottom of the bizarre mystery. But the investigation of the matter raised more questions than, answers, really.
Yeah.
And so the neighborhood has been thinking that they've been electrocuted. But an examination of 2 of the downed birds by California's Department of Fish and Wildlife determined that that was not the case. Instead, they found the creatures had injuries consistent with trauma that could have been possibly caused by a pellet gun or a BB gun or a slingshot.
Yeah.
So, well, with that said, people in the neighborhood who have seen the animals in their final moments express skepticism over that explanation. I feel like a BB gun doesn't make a firecracker noise.
No.
And this sounds exactly like a firecracker. Meanwhile, other residents were doubtful that an individual would have the skill to consistently pick off the birds without having their handiwork revealed.
Yeah.
If you shoot a bird with a BB, there's going to be 1 or 2 birds going to have a BB in them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so regardless of the cause of the curious commotion, residents hope that the newfound attention surrounding it will lead to a resolution of the mystery. And they're understandably fed up with all the dead birds on the street.
Gosh.
I think they're getting zapped.
I think they are too, but I was trying to see an updated article, and it's just apparently it's that same thing. Fish and Wildlife shared that the birds showed no evidence of electrocution and that their deaths were caused by trauma, potentially from a pellet, BB, or a slingshot.
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah.
But you usually have evidence of that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Now, a slingshot, it may not have broke the skin.
Well,
but if you got
it depends what you shoot it with.
Yeah.
I mean, you can shoot a BB in a slingshot. You can shoot a bearing in a slingshot. You can shoot a gumball.
But birds are small, so if you shoot something big like a gumball or like one of those balls you find in the arcade machines, pinball, right? That thing's big. It's not going to get into the bird, but you are going to basically knock the birds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I still think it's getting zapped. I think it would basically come out and say these birds are being shot by a pellet or a BB. Now, it's entirely possible that somebody's just taken a couple shots at them and the rest are being electrocuted. I don't know. I thought it was kind of a weird mystery. I mean, that's something that if it happened in your town, you'd be like, what is going on? Right? And especially if you're like England, they seem to be crazy about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, what happened to the guy who was leaving a plate of bananas? Where did that, that sort of thing. I don't understand what's happening. But that's just kind of crazy. But if you hear a firecracker sound, I mean,
that's the part that I'm like Well, we had a bird fly directly into the window at my job because we had just got the windows cleaned the day before. And it was just such a loud sound that I was like, oh my gosh. Not quite a firecracker, but it just sounded so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know. So anyway, this has been the podcast this time. We're going to come back and do another one here pretty soon. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can certainly let us know. So we talked about the American Pope, TRex Handbag, underground cities, creepy clowns, Jamais, Chinese space bacteria, exploding birds, Omi on TV, a bunch of stuff. So reach out if you'd like. We appreciate it. So anyway, there you go.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to join our Facebook group. That's the best place to share memes, podcast episode ideas, or your strange stories. Or you can just use the phone number we provided earlier in the podcast, or go to CreepGeeks.com and click the Contact Us form.
Heck yeah. 575-208 4025.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, see you later. Take it easy. Bicycle.
Bye.